Hi, and welcome to Crafts with Ash. My name's Ashley, and today I'm going to bring you 5 DIYs and hacks for summer by using items that I found at the Target Dollar Spot or Target Bullseye Playground, whichever one you go by. I am so excited to share all of these with you, but before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Then hop on over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me there and join my crafting community. I have a lot of content coming up that I know you don't want to miss a thing. Also, if you love what you see today, don't forget to give my video a thumbs up because it really helps my channel to grow. All right, let's get started with these DIYs and hacks from the Target Dollar Spot. This first one is so quick and easy, so don't blink because you're going to miss it. But I picked up this really cute bench, and it's actually a ketchup and mustard holder, but I thought this bench was way too cute to hold condiments, so we're going to do something about that. And what I did first was give this bench it's a little bit more than dry brushing, but just a very messy coat of white Waverly chalk paint. I was okay if some of the original wood was showing through. I wanted it to show through, but I just kind of wanted this to be a little beachy and kind of just rustic. So I just lightly brushed over it with my white chalk paint. Now, of course, if you like the wood that it is already, you absolutely do not have to paint it. Or the beauty of it is you can paint this whatever color you want. You can do red, you can do black, you can do pink, you can do yellow. It does not matter. All of these DIYs today are truly just up to your creative ideas, and you can totally customize all of these however you want. After my bench was dry, I took my sanding block and I sanded it down just a little bit. Now you really want to be careful because up on the top it actually split. So you're definitely going to want to be careful when you sand this. You just want to lightly sand it. But I just wanted to bring out some of that wood from underneath. And then this next part is so easy. I can't even believe that this took me literally less than 5 minutes to put together. Oh, there's my little ladybug. It picks up all the little dust that I just sanded off. So next and finally, I just took some succulents and then I just stuck them right in the holes. Now I ended up using 4 succulents altogether, but you could use flowers, you can use just regular plants, whatever you want. You can put little candle holders in there and just put tea lights or actual candles. This is so versatile, and I did not hot glue any of these in because if I want to change these up maybe for the seasons, then I can easily take these succulents out and put something else in. So I absolutely love how this came out. It was so simple. It reminds me of something you would see in a store, and I just love it. What do you think? This next DIY was also super simple, and I think that this would be something fun for kids to do as well. But I picked up this Decor set, and in it, it had this little hello sign, which I will be using in another DIY in this video, and then this block that you could either paint or do something with, but I was kind of just playing with it. It's the first time I opened it, obviously. And then it had this balloon sign. And I thought it looked so cute how it was, but I'm not a farmhouse girl, I like color. So I decided just to paint the entire thing. Now, this is when I said you can absolutely customize all of these DIYs to whatever you like. So I wanted something really bright and colorful, something that you would see out in a back patio or front porch, just something that would remind me of summer. So I just spent some time and painted each one of these little flowers. I used all kinds of colors. I just took my time and really had a lot of fun with it. I found that it was really relaxing just to paint this and just to put my own special spin on this. I also think this would be a good gift to give because then the person you give it to can paint it themselves and they can customize it, but you can use whatever colors you want. If you are farmhouse, you could add some grays and blacks in there. If you're more rustic, you can absolutely do some natural colors or some lighter colors, some toned down colors, and then sand it. If your kitchen is red and black, you can do that. If you're gonna do yellow and black, you can customize this however you want. So I'm gonna let the video play and you can just watch how this all came together. I just want to take this time to welcome you to my channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really love what you see. And if you are returning, thank you so much for all of your support. I truly appreciate reading all of your comments and seeing who is going to recreate some of my DIYs, or maybe hearing that I inspired you to go shopping or collect Rae Dunn or whatever it is. Thank you so much for supporting me through this YouTube journey. It has just been so much fun, and honestly, I would absolutely have no business doing all this crafting if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Now, the paints that I'm using are a mixture between the Waverly chalk paints and Apple Barrel acrylic paints. I don't really remember all of the names to them, but you can use whatever paints you like and whatever you have. I think that this sign went from something that was cute, but I just made it a little bit more bright and cheerful for summer. And like I said, I think this would also be fun for kids to do. They can just paint on the lines just like I did. But you tell me, what do you think? For this next project, we're going to be using this little hello sign that I took out of that set in the first DIY, and this 2-pack of storage containers that I got in the Target dollar spot for $1. So the first thing I did was take all the tape off because, like I said, it is a 2-pack, so the tape is holding it together. And then after that, I took some scrapbook paper and I measured on the inside of one of the little storage containers, and I cut it down so it fit into one side. So you can see there that I'm measuring it, and then I went ahead and Mod Podged it down. Then once it dried, I cut off the excess paper, and then I did the same thing to the other storage container. So I took my sanding block and I sanded off whatever leftover paper there was. That way I had nice clean edges. And I did this for both storage containers as well. We are going to put these storage containers back together, so you want to make sure to get as much of that excess paper off as possible. Once that was done, I ran a bead of hot glue around the top of one of the storage containers, and then I stuck the two storage containers together. This is just so they stay together for our DIY. Now you want to make sure that you put the sides with the paper on it on the same sides, because I almost made a little oopsie there. Next, I took some sticker letters from the Dollar Tree, and I spelled out the word summer right in the middle of where the two containers meet. Now you want to make sure that your sticker letters are pushed down really, really well, because we will be painting over it. So after all my sticker letters were on, I gave this entire thing 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in white. After my container was dry, I took my little knife and started peeling up all the sticker letters. Now I did find that some of the paint did bleed through underneath the letters, but I just used my fingernail and scratched off the paint, and then I just used a baby wipe to wipe off any of the paint that was not supposed to be there. I wanted to make sure that all of the paint was super dry, because if not, you're going to get a lot of smudging. At the end, I do go back and I trace around the letters with my white paint marker. That way it just cleans up the letters just a little bit. Then I just took my white paintbrush and touched up any of the paint around my letters. Then this is when I took my white paint marker and just outlined the letters to kind of give them a cleaner edge. Next, I just felt that it needed more color, so to add more dimension, I took my ballet slipper Waverly chalk paint and I dry brushed that all over my container. Now for this, I did use a makeup sponge, but you can see I'm dabbing it in the lid, dabbing it off on the paper towel, and then just dry brushing the color all over the container. Next, I took my little hello sign and I hot glued it down on the container towards the front. So that way my sign said, "Hello Summer." Now I did feel that the hello word needed some dimension too, so I just dry brushed some white Waverly chalk paint all over that word, and I really do think that it made it helped make it more defined and highlighted it just a little bit. But I like how this came out. I don't know, you gotta let me know. It is kind of different. I have this vision in my head. I'm not sure if it turned out exactly how I wanted, but you let me know. What do you think? This next DIY is super easy too. I picked up this little planter from the Target dollar spot and I really wanted to think of something else I could do with it besides turning it into a planter. So here's what I did. I turned it around and I took out that little plug on the back, and then I took some of this white nautical rope and I strung it through the hole. Then I connected it up top and tied a knot. Then to reinforce the knot, I threw a bunch of hot glue around it. That way it helped make it a little bit more sturdy. Next, I took a 12-inch dowel rod and I cut it in half, and then I hot glued it down in the bottom of my bowl so that it was sticking out of the edge too. Do you know what we're making yet? Here's a hint. You want to make sure to put a ton of hot glue on that dowel rod. That way, when certain little feathery friends stand on it, it won't fall off. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, I'm just waiting for that glue to set up because I want to paint this dowel rod, but I didn't want to move it because I really wanted it to stay still. I was thinking that you could probably use permanent glue, or sorry, super glue as well, but I just didn't know what would be toxic for birds. I mean, I don't really think this is going to hurt them, but I just wanted to be careful with what I used. But after the glue did dry, I went ahead and took my white Waverly chalk paint and I painted the dowel rod. After that, I decided to dry brush over the top of that planter with my white chalk paint because it is textured, so I just wanted to dry brush over it to bring that texture out. And I really do think that that really brought it to life and made it look really cool. Now, I don't know how sufficient this is going to be hanging on a tree. This is glass, so I do know that if it's windy or it's going to be bad weather, I need to pull it off the tree. But I do think that it is a great little bird feeder for our little feathery friends. And I can't wait to add some bird seed to it and hang it outside for our little friends to enjoy. What do you think? For the last DIY, I picked up this turning little, I guess it would be called a Lazy Susan, I think, but it is a spinning plate, and I was thrilled to see this, but not only that, it was only $3, so obviously I picked up a few. So the first thing I did was, I wasn't too fond of this little peace sign. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like peace signs, but that's not what I had envisioned for this, so I just used all kinds of tools to pry it off. I'm not gonna lie to you, this was hard. This was a good workout for me. I tried to melt the glue. Well, I didn't know what was holding it on there, but I assumed it was glue, so I used my hairdryer to do that, and then I pried it off. Then I used some wire cutters, needle nose pliers. I just used anything I could to think of just to kind of get that off of there. And it was easy for me to get the top layer off, but then the bottom was totally stuck to it. So what I did was resorted to a knife, and I just started cutting it off. Now, at the end, I did not get it all off, but you'll see that I sanded it down a lot, so at least it's not raised as high and it's smoother. So there I am, just cleaning up all of the little sawdust that I had from sanding it down like crazy, and you can see that the knife is actually working. So if all else fails, just cut it off. I don't know if there's some kind of major tool out there that could get this off, but I'm glad that I did, because the end result of this is so cute, and I want to say this is my favorite. So after I got off as much as I could, I sanded it down really, really well. And again, it was just to make it less raised in the middle and just a little smoother. Next, I took my white Waverly chalk paint and gave this whole thing 2 coats. After my paint was dry, I took this leftover Mardi Gras bead necklace and I started hot gluing it all the way around the edge. Now, I did find that I needed to add hot glue to every 3rd or 4th bead to give it a stronger hold. After all my beads were glued on, I just kind of spun it around to make sure that there weren't any loose parts, and then I just touched up any beads that I needed to glue down. After that, I took my white Waverly chalk paint and I painted over all of the beads. Now, I did switch to a smaller brush here in a second so I could get in between all of the beads, but I did have to give this about 2.5 coats to cover up all that green. So I gave it 2 full coats and then just went back and touched up any of the green that might have been showing. After all my paint was dry, I took some Mod Podge and gave the middle of my tray a nice layer of that. Then I took some really cute and summery scrapbook paper and I laid it down, and then by using my fingernail, I made a crease around so I knew where to cut it. After my paper was pressed down, I took my knife and started cutting around the edge. Now, I did mess up here. I thought I was cutting right up against the edge and I wasn't, so you're going to see that I missed a whole chunk, but I do go back and fix it. But again, that's what I'm here for, to make the mistakes, but also show you how to fix them. Once I got all my paper cut off, I went through and I added Mod Podge to all around the edges of my tray. Then this is where you're going to see I'm going to add paper to that big chunk that's missing. So all I did was cut down a piece of scrapbook paper that was going to somewhat fit in that section. Now you do want to make sure to get any extra paper off of there so that way it lines up nicely to the edge of your tray. So here's when I took the extra scrapbook paper and I just cut out little pieces to go ahead and put in that spot that was missing the paper. Now here's a tip, and I did not do this at this one, but then you'll see that I started doing it. You want to, instead of cutting it with scissors, you want to tear the paper, because I do find that when you tear paper, it actually blends in better to the paper that was already there. I hope that makes sense. So if you're looking at that right now, you can clearly see a line there where the paper was cut. But if you tear and rip the paper and then Mod Podge it down, it just blends in a little better. So after I had all my pieces down, I gave this a really good coat of Mod Podge on the top of the paper. So here is when I started going in and just filling in any of the spots around the edges. And this is where I started tearing the paper rather than cutting it. And you're gonna see somewhat of a difference. Now, of course, from far away, you can't tell at all that I had to piece some pieces together. But just for future reference, that's just a tip for you. If you have to do that, just rip the paper instead. To add one last final touch to this tray, I just felt like it needed a little bit more color and dimension. So I took that Ballet Slipper Waverly chalk paint and I dry brushed over the beads. Now you can't really tell right here, but as I keep painting, you'll be able to see it. But I think that this little touch of color really added a lot to this little tray, and like I said, I believe this one is my favorite. I absolutely love it. I cannot wait to put it out on our patio or the back deck. I just think that it is such a great colorful piece, and this would also be a great gift to give as well. So this is just so much fun and I absolutely love it. Again, this is a piece that you can completely customize and make the colors that you want. But what do you think? I had so much fun coming up with these ideas for all of these items that I found in the Target dollar spot. I definitely think the name of the game here today was color. Everything has color in it, and that is exactly what I wanted. When I think of summer, that's what I think of. I think of color and brightness and just cheerfulness, and I loved how all of these came out. Again, I think my favorite is the tray, but a second favorite is the little succulent bench. I think that is such a neat DIY, and how easy was that? You're gonna have to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite from today. So really, these are all, like I said, customizable, and you can make them however you want, and you can make them your own. So if you loved what you saw today, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up because it really helps my channel to grow. Also, it lets me know that you like what you're seeing, and it lets YouTube know that you want to see more content of mine, and it'll show up in your YouTube feed. So you definitely want to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you were inspired and got some great ideas on how to make your own summer DIYs. Until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!